Welcome everyone to another Vedius VOD review. Today we're going to be doing G2 Esports vs Origin. Very exciting matchup. It was a lot of fun. But if you're watching this VOD, you're probably sitting on YouTube right now, which means that you're not live here with Twitch. And you could be every Mondays at around 6 p.m. CET, where the Twitch chat asks me engaging and thought-provoking questions, such as, why does the color yellow look yellow? And if the sky was purple, would our eyes be purple? You see, and to engage in these thought-provoking questions, you too could be here at twitch.tv/VediusOfficial every Monday, every week. Anyway, here we are. We're at the draft. We're going to be jumping in. So let's get crack-a-lackin'. Speed the VOD up, and we're going to do some studying. So let's have a look-see. Let's see what people do. Get through the bans. Okay. So, okay. So let's talk about this. So the Jarvan ban is because LEC teams think he is OP, S+ tier. Now, up to you whether you want to agree with them or not. Like, I understand why they value him. Like, he's a low econ jungler that can have high impact consistently throughout the game. So that's why he's considered S tier right now. G2 also talked about how Gragas is pretty much super OP in the current meta, and it's pretty much the only jungler that Xerxes has played, so that ban also makes sense. And then you've also got the Qiyana ban. Now, the Qiyana ban surprised me. The only reason why I think they decided to ban it was because they had a different first pick in mind. G2 consider this to be OP, but of course you're playing on 10.2, so if you blind pick Qiyana, you know it's pretty much going mid or it's going top. One of these two, because it can't be jungled anymore. So the reason why they ban it is because they consider it still to be strong, but they don't want to first pick it. I don't know if they needed to do this, but they probably had a pick in mind that they didn't want to give Nuke Duck, so they didn't want to leave the option open, and they didn't feel the need to ban something like Aphelios because they probably knew that they could get the Senna first pick, right? So Akali ban, you kind of have to. Syndra ban, you kind of have to. She was disabled last week, but she's available now. And then the Elise ban was weird. I don't know why they banned Elise, because I'm pretty sure that Jankos is always going to go for Lee Sin, and you've already seen the Qiyana ban. So, like, if Qiyana was open, then Elise would make a little bit more sense to me, because then G2 could do something like an Elise plus Qiyana, right? They could have considered that, but they banned Qiyana. So, I don't know, the Elise ban was really weird to me. Like, you can obviously, like, show that respect to Jankos, but I think it's pretty obvious to me that he's leaving Lee open. The only thing that I can think of is Origin is saying, well, we know he's going to pick Lee, so we'll counter pick with the Rek'Sai. Like, Rek'Sai is a good pick into Lee. But that's the only reason why I could think that they wanted this, so that they could guarantee what their jungle matchup would be, and they would get a winning one for Xerxes, right? So that's probably the logic that they had going in. Now, I'm pretty sure G2 first picked the Senna, which I think is fine. And then Origin answered with Zyra Khan. They don't feel the need for Aphelios. Now, this is a situation where G2 could consider Braum if they wanted to, but of course they have the freedom to pick what they want. So in this situation, they're going to go for the Lee Sin, and I'm pretty sure they also blind pick the LeBlanc. What interests me was the fact that Origin didn't choose to... So one of the cool things... let me backtrack. One of the things about picking your mid laner now is you force the enemy into a decision in the draft, right? Because Origin have committed to locking in their bot lane, okay? So once you've done this, G2 have a choice. Do they want to pick their support now or later? Now, the great thing about most support matchups is because all of them are available, because of their bans, Mickey's just sitting there being like, even if they ban like the best counter picks to Rakan, I think Thresh is one of them. I think Morgana is the other one, right? Even if they ban those two, I can still play Leona, I can still play Braum, I can play Kench. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that he can play if he wants to. So they don't feel the need to pick support now because they can save it for this half of the draft. So instead, by playing the Lee Sin and the LeBlanc, right, what you're doing is you're forcing your opposition into making a choice. They can either counterpick jungle or they can counterpick mid, but they can't do both. So you're guaranteed to have winning matchups in one or the other, because you can then spend your next 2 bans banning away whatever counters the thing that they didn't. So Origin realize, hey, the jungle pool is really narrow, so we have to go for our jungle pick, because if they look to ban Rek'Sai and I don't even know what junglers would be left at that point, like Rek'Sai and Olaf, if those 2 get banned, then Xerxes doesn't really have any junglers left that he can play. So they're kind of forced into picking Rek'Sai here, which I thought was just like, is a good awareness from G2 in drafting. PogChamp grabs. But like, you can understand how it like forces your opponents into making decisions, right? Which I think is pretty good. So we see the Rek'Sai come out, which means that G2 can now look to ban away any obnoxious counters that could come out for LeBlanc. So I considered Lucian being one of them, but I don't think they do. Yasuo was another one that could be annoying. Oh, Lissandra being the most obvious one that I completely forgot. But remember what we were saying about, like, even if they ban support, so Morgana is one of the supports that they choose to ban, Origin now. And again, they could have banned Thresh here as well, but I'm pretty sure they don't. I think they ban Aatrox, yeah, which also confuses me. Because, like, so, I mean, I say confuses me. Thing about Aatrox is it is a safe blind that Wonder often likes to go for. That was not an arrow. So it's a safe blind that Wonder likes to go for, and obviously they have to blind pick their top laner here, and Alfari will get counter, so they don't want to give him the Aatrox. But like, I am surprised that they would do that. Again, I guess they're thinking to themselves that support-wise, like, Thresh isn't big enough of a problem that they need to ban it away. I wonder if they do... Oh, Ryze. Oh, okay. Yeah, Ryze is pretty good into LeBlanc as well. So you can see, like, they've narrowed the pool. They could also be, like, very Nuke Duck-specific champs. So, like, I mean... So, in the game, we'll talk about it, but... Nuke Duck obviously considers this to be a fine matchup into LeBlanc. The problem is you're going to lose in the push early. You're going to get bullied around, but in theory you should never die, because what he does is he maxes W, which means that every time he's at risk of getting low, he just points and clicks, and then his HP goes ooh, and he never dies, right? So that's the reason for it. But like I just think Silas is like not a great champ right now. I'm a really big fan of the Thresh pick. Oh yeah, they also do the... Wait, do they do the Soraka top this game? Yeah, they do. So, I still don't know the counters to Soraka top. I think most people believe that it's like one of the strongest top laners in the game right now. And when we think about bans that Origin could go for, Soraka may have been a better one here, but then he probably would have just done Aatrox. Wait, I want the... Okay. So, the thing about this is it's pretty safe. It's a difficult champion to dive, especially because you normally run barrier in the lane. You obviously have global presence, and they also have enough damage threat, so they don't need another carry from the top lane. The biggest risk of this comp is that the only front lane that they really have is Thresh, and their Baron is really weak. Sucks. Right? So the Baron sucks. Because this champion is really slow at taking Baron, this champion's really slow at taking Baron, and while you have a lot of sustain, like, there's no damage here in order to take the Baron. The bright side of G2's comp is it does scale very well, because you have the range here, you have the damage here, and then you have the unkillable aspect of the Soraka, along with good pick power, again, pick power, and this comp is also pretty mobile, surprisingly, because you have Lee Sin, you have LeBlanc, but then Thresh positioning well can also provide a lot of appeal for the center. So like it's a surprisingly well-rounded comp that has good late game insurance while also having pressure in mid. They should also have pressure in bot. And I've been told the Soraka does very well into Rumble. I've not experienced the matchup, nor am I an expert in the matchup, but I have been told and I can understand why Soraka would be quite good into this matchup. So in theory, G2 have top, they have pushing lane, they have mid, pushing lane, and then bot. They have a pushing lane. So G2 come out of the draft with 3 pushing lanes. The only thing they have to be careful of is that early game this champion is stronger than this one. But if this guy always gets to move first and these guys always get to move first, then it doesn't really matter because he's always going to be at a numbers disadvantage. So like G2's comp scales better. They have priority early. And yeah, I mean, the only thing that's crap about their comp is that the Baron. So like, this is what we call a winning draft. Isn't OG bot pushing? No, because, so like, in theory, this has greater wave clear, but Rakan can never engage because you can get flayed by a good Thresh. Because Rakan travels in lines, it's very easy for a Thresh to interrupt him. I consider Thresh to be quite a good counter pick to Rakan, and also you have a pretty big range advantage here. So while their wave clear is weaker than this, the fact that Thresh can approach the wave and the fact that every time he tries to get close, he's going to get harassed by this and this means that in theory, in the early game, the center Thresh should have prior early. So yeah, 3 winning lanes, better scaling, excellent draft from G2. Does you have any questions? Team fights were a threat to G2, I guess. Yeah, there is that angle. One of the interesting things is when picking Sylas is you've always got to consider what ults can be stolen as well. There's the Thresh box, which is okay. Soraka ultimate, kind of meh. LeBlanc ultimate, kind of meh. Meh. You see what I'm saying? So like, none of these ults really empower the comp overall. Like, sure, there's some decent ults, but Sylas doesn't really have a lot to steal from. The greatest team fighting aspect of Origin's comp is the fact that they have Rakan paired with Rumble, which means that in the mid game they should hit a pretty powerful spike if they try and force fights around things like, I don't know, Herald or Drake. The thing about G2 is because they're pretty slow at taking these objectives, they just need to pick and choose when they actually fight for these, because they know that because they have so much prior early, it should be harder for G2 to be able to contest these objectives, and at the same time, they know that they outscale, so they don't necessarily have to force in the mid game, they just have to be patient. What do you mean Soraka ult is meh? Thought it was bad. I mean, yeah, but like, sure, it's useful in the sense that like, it's a good ultimate to steal, but it doesn't necessarily improve this comp dramatically. Like, of course, it's always going to be that, like, an extra ult is always going to be valuable, but it's not like stealing a Sejuani ultimate that acts as a follow-up engage to the Rakan, or like, it's not like a Lissandra ultimate. Like, it doesn't add a huge amount of team fight power. It's like, I would say that the team fight power of this comp is like not the strongest. So that's what I mean by that. For sure, like, guys, I get it. Like, Soraka ult, you're right. It's a good thing to steal. I'm just saying, like, when it gets stolen, I don't think that Soraka ultimate is going to be enough to win these team fights later on into the game. Any reason why OG would not pick Leona or Nautilus? Because they think that when you look at Xayah, they think that the only way that Xayah is like really strong is when you pair it with Rakan, and they'd already committed themselves to getting this 2v2 in the bot lane early, so that's why. Anyway, so that's the draft. Let's get into the game. All right, let's have a look. What's going on early game? I wonder why Wonder would come down here. I guess just for a bit of extra security. I guess. So you can see jungle dropping ward, going back to grab sweep bar. Nothing too crazy. Cap's in a position to be able to identify any delayed invades. And then we're going to see the Rek'Sai start blue, and then Lee Sin start red. I like studying jungle path, because I feel like jungle pathing is like way more versatile than it used to be. So this is actually a really good, a cool thing. So you can see here, right? Destiny has his barrier procced, and he also has a shield, so he uses an opportunity to go in, but of course he doesn't have his E, right? So now you'll get to see, like, every time he tries to attack, Mickey's going to pull them back, get a decent trade-off, and then they use the range from Caps to bully them off. Meanwhile, the wave is still pushing in their favor. Because the important thing to note is, because Caps... Caps, because he landed an auto, drew the aggro of the minions, which meant that those minions were hitting them, whereas these minions were not. So this wave pushed harder. That was a poor explanation, but you get the point. So we can see pushing mid, pushing bot. They're going to get level 2 first. Damn. What the? Okay. This is an even better example. So, where's my pen? Okay, apparently I can't use the pen and press play at the same time. So, Mickey's positioning in a way in front of the minions where he can take advantage of the range that he has to try and zone upset away. Destiny is trying to provide peel and security for upset by going in, but again, he's only level 1. So he doesn't have the W into E, right? Which means that as he engages... Yes, he knocks up, but notice he's now been flayed behind Mickey. So this gives Caps the opportunity to harass. The Aftershock has been propped by Mickey, so he doesn't take any damage. Caps also has the Glacial Augment, and then he flashes. I think he flashed because he assumed that Mickey had Ignite, but he wasn't paying attention to the summoner spell. Yeah, but like that's why I think that this 2v2 has prio, because like every time you try to make those trades, you lose. And you can see... They needed to play more defensively because now the lane is like really doomed for them. Upset forced to use the cleanse there, and then Perk's already on the roam. And this is why like it's dangerous for them, because now you have this massive stacked wave because Destiny tried to take too many bad trades, and because Perks has prio in mid, he has an opportunity to actually set up a dive because there's nothing here. You can see Wonder being a lane bully, also having prio, and then these two get completely zoned away from the farm. So now there's a 10 CS difference. There's a pretty big XP gap as well, and they get a tap plate. So like bot lane is over. If Caps didn't land that W, sorry, then that gank might have been a little bit more dangerous. Could have forced some summoner spells, but good W there from Caps. So like everything so far in this early game is already heavily in G2's favor. Jankos is just hovering topside, mainly because I think he's considering the risk of a gank, but then actually I think I'm wrong. He gets information of Xerxes, obviously. So then rather than path towards bot, he just path towards top. So he's just playing on the other side of the jungler. Perks gets information like that. There's nothing that he can do with the scuttle, so he looks for a potential dive in the top side. Okay. Then he's going to draw the minions to get the aggro. I think the idea behind the dive was good. They just didn't have enough damage. Because I think they land everything. Notice he gets the stun out. I think that's, yeah. What procs Alfari's, I forget what it's called. Overheat is the shield. So there's not enough damage. Doesn't cost them anything. Oh yeah, she runs teleport rather than barrier. Okay. But yeah. So now bot lane will, be pushed underneath the tower because the wave obviously bounced. So giving them an opportunity to base. They try to kill Perks. It's actually a pretty good gank in the mid lane. Because Xerxes just seen the Lee Sin top, he can be pretty confident that his bot lane will be safe. And Perks just used his W, so this is a good opportunity to go in. But because he gets rooted and because of the passive from Perks, he can't escape. I don't think they would have committed to that play anyway because of how big the minion wave was. But Wonder doesn't lose anything for that TP because this wave was slow pushing towards him anyway. So everything is fine so far for G2. Ooh, zoom in of Perks' face. Lovely jubbly. This is where we talk about the fact that they haven't died yet. Ooh, interesting. You are now drawn in and compelled. Now you wish to know if they will die this game. Spoiler, they do. I want to look at this trade. So, I'm going to do a very quick look. Lol wiki Soraka. So, Soraka at level 5. The cooldown on her Q is 6 seconds. Obviously, she doesn't have any items yet. So, notice here, this is why I think Alfari is really good in lane. Alfari has a really good awareness of cooldowns, right? This is how he killed Finn as well last week or the day before. So you can see that Wonder just used his Q here and it missed Alfari. So because Alfari is near the overheat, he knows that he can hard come in onto Wonder and the regeneration from his Q will be unavailable for 6 whole seconds. So he can then go for this all-in trade, utilize the passive, and sidestep and get a good trade in his favor. So like that was well played by Alfari. It was just a good awareness of like how to play into the matchup. And he's like, yeah. Extremely close trade between Perks and Nuke Duck. That was also really good from Nuke Duck to land the stun just there. And if Perks had landed that chain, damn, if Nuke Duck had actually, wow. Both of them mess up because, so Perks obviously misses his chain here. If he'd landed this, he may have been able to get a kill, right? But also, Nuke Duck uses his Q on Perks rather than here. If he'd used it here, he would have killed him regardless. Yeah, if he'd done it there, Perks was dead, either way. Because he was either going to die to the Q, which obviously has 2 procs, right? So Perks was going to get hit by one of the 2, or he was going to get killed by Nuke Duck's passive. One of those 2 things was going to kill Perks. So they both misplayed. But you can see how the chains probably would have killed Nuke Duck. If it had procced. Or if it landed, rather. Anyway, let's go back to seeing what Xerxes doing. So, remember that Alfari had a pretty good trade early on. And he'd been sidestepping a lot of the Qs from Wonder, which means that he lost half his HP. That means that he gets zoned away from the wave that's stacking up. And he isn't level 6 yet. Because Alfari is level 6. They look to set up a dive. And they can't quite kill Wonder. But the play itself was very good from Origin. Good awareness to recognize, like, Alfari's about to hit level 6. You want to try and dive the Soraka to keep her down. And if they'd been able to kill her here, it would have been great. But either way, they still deny her a huge amount of farm, which is really valuable to Origin. So they're keeping this one behind. And this is overall good for Origin. They now have a strong top side. Bot side, even after the earlier stumble, are still relatively even. Yes, they're a little bit behind because you can see that Caps is at level 5. But it's all in all not too bad. Mickey used his opportunity to do a cheeky earlier base. And he's now going to roam around. He's probably going to keep roaming until Caps looks to reset. And then he'll make his way back towards bot. I wonder when Caps will reset. He's got to do it on this wave, surely. Oh, because he's built up a slow push. If he bases now, that wave is going to get frozen on him. So Mickey's got to come back to bot lane. Yeah. He's got Moby Boots as well, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'll go back to normal speed. So let's think about next steps, because we're like 7.5 minutes into the game. Matt and Drake is obviously an objective that both teams want. But if we think about like what's available, who can fight, where can they fight, we can see that both TPs are unavailable right now. We also know that, pardon me, probably at this point in the game, Alfari's ultimate is going to offer a little bit more value than the Wish, but that's debatable because none of them have healing reduction yet. This is still probably going to be quite strong, but because she doesn't really have any AP yet, and because it doesn't like have a huge amount of scaling behind it, I mean, it does, sorry, what I mean, like, you need items for it to be super effective. So like, it's definitely not invaluable. But I would like debate that this probably offers a little bit more value at this point in the game. Destiny isn't 6. Upset isn't 6. Caps is. Mickey's 4. Perks, level 7 with no Ignite. Nuke Duck, no TP, level 6. Xerxes, level 5. Jankos, level 5. So right now, I think both teams are feeling like if they went for the Drake, it would be very close, which means that they probably wouldn't want to gamble it on either side. Because you never want to try and gamble for an objective like Drake. It's not worth it. Because if something goes wrong, then the whole game goes wrong, right? Like, if that Nuke Duck suddenly gets 2 kills, then this matchup suddenly becomes a lot harder for Perks. If the Rumble gets 2 kills, but the same on either side. If Perks gets a double kill, oh boy, Origin gets screwed. So neither of them probably want to gamble this Drake. That's why they're mainly just investing in Vision to see if either team is looking to set it up. For the time being, they're probably going to want to wait for 6, maybe their first items, but I think their first items are quite far away. So I think they're just going to keep farming for a little while. The only reason in which they would get Drake is if they can force a base, in which case, because there's a stacking wave here, something that Perks could look for is to burn his resources to push, and then look to clear out the river and then maybe set up a dive onto bot lane. Because they know that there's no TP, and because he knows he has prior with mids, that is one option. And then if they can force this duo back, then they could look to go for the Drake. That's one option. I think Origin, though, are a little too afraid right now to try and force a fight. You've also got to pay attention to the fact that Caps hasn't actually based yet, so he doesn't have any money. Sorry, hasn't spent his money, but now he's going to do that. So let's see what both teams do. You know, I gave a couple of options, and it's good to ask these questions because this is how you learn. So we can see that Caps uses prior to move into river to clear out the vision. What I would expect now is he tries to push this wave out and then look to roam. TPs are still down for a little while. I like the Nuke Ducks getting a little bit more aggressive now. You can see how he's actually trading way more effectively, and you can actually see how far he's getting a lot more priority in this top lane as well. He's playing the matchup very well. So I said I was going to talk about it as well, but Nuke Duck, we can't see it down here, but he is maxing his W, and at this point he has 4 points in it, right? So the scariest thing about that W is that it has a flat health amount now, but it also scales with the amount of HP that you're missing. So every time Perks goes in to chunk, yeah, Nuke Duck wants to use his W towards the end of the combo because then he just gets all of his HP back. And Perks is always going to lose out because, again, remember that Perks can only be in 2 places when he uses his W, here or here, right? If he's here, then he's going to get hit by Nuke Duck's passive. If he's here, you can hit him with the Q. So you can put Perks into a lose-lose situation, which is why you can see this health discrepancy starting to develop. So this is one of the main reasons why we see a Silas pick being used as like a counter to the LeBlanc. And I think that you can see in some of the trades that we're now seeing how much harder it becomes for the LeBlanc as well. Why is LEC yelling at me? He's using exclamation marks. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway. So, Perks is going to reset. Cap's using his range to be as obnoxious as possible. As an aside, I think it's really ridiculous that every time a Senna misses a CS, she's still not punished massively because there's the chance of her getting one of her souls. So it doesn't work like the old support items used to, where if you hit, you know, if you kill a minion, there's a cooldown on when you can get your passive again. I don't think it's the same thing on the current one, but with Senna, if you miss farm, you can still be rewarded by getting a soul, which is stupid. It's really stupid. Could Upset have rooted here? So there's 1 feather, there's 2 feather, there's 3 feather. If he'd immediately pressed his E, no, probably not enough time. Yeah, he probably didn't have enough time. Solid engage though from Origin. This is a great opportunity for them to go to Drake now because the bot lane will be forced to base. Huh? Are they scared because LeBlanc reset, maybe? They must be. I'm surprised that they wouldn't go for Drake there. I think that was a good opportunity for them to go. Yeah, they'll get to base now, but... Oh, they're actually going to swap. Okay. So they're going to use this to... What am I talking about right now? I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't paying any attention to the... what just happened in bot lane. Ignore me on the screen. Okay, so... One of the things about this trade is it gave an opportunity for these two to base first. Because they base first, they have a tempo advantage, which means that they can come back out onto the map first. Rather than go back towards bot and look to contest for Drake, which they have no control over, they instead to move up towards top side, where I would imagine they would look to try and contest for Herald, which they could do because they know that Alphari still has prio, and his TP has just come back up, and you know that the bot lane of G2 is resetting, and you know that they're going to get here way too slowly. So, like... Everything about this current situation is good for Origin. The only thing they have to avoid is an actual fight, and because they don't have mid-prio, like, sure, that's a bad thing, but... Are they just swapping lanes to get out of the lane? Sorry, you can hear weird noises in the background. I apologize. I have no idea what that is, but... just a weird groaning. Anyway. I'm really confused. How have G2 now been allowed to do this? And should G2 even be allowed to do this? What? Oh, I remember this fight. Okay. So, remember everything we just talked about did give Origin the opportunity to actually start this Herald first. But what happens is they send Alphari bot lane rather than keeping him top with the prio that he had in order to try and force the Herald. Right? Yes, they don't have mid-prio, but they should still have prio over top lane to be able to gain control of the river, which they don't use. Mickey being level 6 on his boots of mobility, like, I'm so confused. I don't know if I'm just being an idiot now, or if this is a mistake from Origin, but it feels like a mistake from Origin where, like, the only thing they don't have is prio on mid. But, in theory, that shouldn't matter. Because they still had Rumble top lane, who could have pushed that wave in, and they have their bot lane arriving. And they're first on everything. Mickey's only just gotten back to base now. Like, Origin had this huge time window where they could have done Herald. Bear in mind, Herald has been nerfed. The amount of HP that it has is weaker, which means it's even easier to do. But, like, I wonder, like, if they're just super scared of perks in mid. And they're just like, no, we don't need to fight. Because now, because they're kerfuffling around, like, look, what are they doing? Gotta help Nuke Duck, I guess. And now Alphari's bot lane. He still has TP for sure, and there is a flank TP available to him. But G2 actually start this off. But bear in mind, like, look, they don't have mid-prio. They just know that Rek'Sai's not here because they saw him go over this ward. But then a good hook from Mickey into silence, into root. And he's dead. Of course, he still doesn't have ultimate anyway. So it's not like Origin can fight this. And G2 should probably also be aware of what he has available to him. They also probably know that Nuke Duck's used his ult. And then you think, oh, this is a great flank from Alphari. Here we go. Then look at this from Caps. Really good route onto upset, then also takes the lantern. And they immediately turn this into a 2 versus 5, with which Xerxes just doing nothing, because he's apparently getting zoned by... I mean, like, yes, I guess you could argue that Perks is playing this well, but I don't know, bro. Like, why was Origin so afraid to do anything? Yeah, I don't know. I think Origin had an opportunity to do the Herald there. I think so anyway. The only reason why I could see... I'm going to try and think about this a little bit more. So they have tempo. They use their tempo to get deep vision in enemy jungle. And it looks like that they're just swapping, right? But if their only goal is to swap, then fine. They don't have mid-prio. And Zeus is clearing his Krugs, which is, I guess, okay. But I guess G2 now know that Zeus is on the top side of the map, which means Origin can't trade anything. So Perks just uses his whatever he can to try and push. So he gets to move first. And Zeus is just like... I mean, Zeus doesn't have his E, so there's nothing that... I don't know, bro. I mean, like, you could also argue that, like, Destiny should never even be here in the first place. Like, what's he going to do? He has no ult. Yeah. And then the TP is already committed. So they're looking for a fight. And this ult could have been huge. But, again, like, upsetting Zeus is 2v5. Yeah, I don't know. In every aspect, this was really terrible from Origin. Really, really terrible. Well, sucks to suck. All right. Cap's nearly cleaning Upset. If he had his ult, he probably could have killed him. I suppose Upset still has cleanse and ult himself, so probably not. Pardon me. Destiny and Xerxes still just like hanging around each other. I suppose because Upset had to base, they can't do anything. Top lane. Such a bizarre fight. Who drills at 6:43 p.m.? Alright. So now we see Jungler hanging around the bot side of the map where he actually has prio because he has no vision control around top, which means that if G2 look to go for Herald, they can trade it for Drake. But G2 just move their pressure around the map. So I wonder if this is intentional. So typically, right? Typically what you'd see from most teams is they have push here and they have all this control, right? So what they would do is they would use their prio mids and they would path up towards here and they would go for this objective. And then they would trade, right? Like that also could have been, when we think about the previous fight as well, Origin probably invested their vision here because they assumed that G2 would go for this maybe. But even then, but like what we're seeing is G2 actually just move their jungle and support to wherever Origin's pressure on the map is. So you can see that Xerxes path towards bot, right? And then he was playing around the fact that Rumble had push. So then the two of them could then move through the river and gain vision. And because of all this vision control, G2 could have just taken Herald for free because they had prio here and they could have gotten prio here. But instead, G2 have just moved their duo back down and they're just like, no, well, you know, we'll contest because we can. Because we have LeBlanc with the Ludens. Yeah, and we've got a completed jungle item and like, we're strong. Why not? How interesting. Because normally Origin would want to try and trade this, you know, trade Drake for that, but they're not allowed to. So Yankers can just do this now. They've got to catch midwave. Senna's isolated top and doesn't get punished. G2 get Mountain Drake. Herald is still up, and they can still play for it. And now they start the Herald. Soraka's probably going to be forced to use ult. Yep, there's the ult. And while the fight is happening... I mean, everything about this sucks for Origin right now. Alright, let's go back to the beginning. So what Wonder wants to do is push so that he can either base or be in a position so that he can TP to assist with Herald. Right? Alfari's trying to base so that he can be in a position. Oh, Wonder actually, yeah. I think Wonder greeds here, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Because there's no reason for him to assume that Alfari has already backed. I mean, he probably didn't see him going to the... I mean, he obviously didn't see him going to the brush, right? But then he's like, oh, I can just get to this wave. And then he almost dies. I mean, he doesn't because he's Soraka. And Alfari uses his ultimate hand. Like, keeping Alfari out was great. But anyway, let's have a look at the bottom left. So it looks like Xerxes flash engages onto Caps, who flashes over the wall. So Caps was a bit out of position there, but again, he doesn't lose his life. Perk's then landing a bit of poke. And they force, and they're 4v4. They actually force G2 off, which is pretty good initially. But then, of course, in this extended trade, G2 used their range and mobility to like dance in and out. But what are they afraid of on G2? I guess because they have no... I mean, they do have engage. They have Destiny. What are they waiting for? Ugh. I mean, like, obviously Destiny's trying to get onto Caps, right? But... lands a thing on a Mickey. I mean, that just feels like such a strange time to engage. Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously here was when they wanted to engage, and then they flash knock up onto Caps, and then Caps disengages, and then they move as 4 to go towards the Herald, and then they kind of split apart. Like, look at Xerxes. Xerxes just kind of goes over the wall, and he's like, okay, I'm out. And then Upset has to lose all his life to Perk, so he's now out of the fight, which is probably the main reason why they don't re-engage. And then Upset misses his engage. And then, of course, they die. And G2 get everything again. Yeah, and remember, like, G2's comp out scales as well, so disaster. I mean, props to Perk, because I think, like, he played that well. Like, he picked a good target. So Caps obviously used his flash earlier. Destiny misses the engage. But, like, the bit that they didn't show was... was that bit. So can you see it? So look at Upset's HP. So Perks does W into R. And Upset loses half his HP. So now he can't play the game anymore. But that's a large part of what won in the fight. It was well played by Perks. Then they engage onto Aftershock and McA. And then the Deathless are no more. Yeah, they don't show it again because, like, you can see the Upset's just terrified. He's like, please, Mr. LeBlanc, don't hurt me. And because Perks is playing LeBlanc, he can't die. Oh, my face cam is in the way. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. God, this happens every time. Every time. I'll show you. I'll show you. Alright, my face cam was in the way. I'm sorry. I'm a streamer, by the way. Alright. This time. Watch. Watch. Do you see? Watch Upset. And there goes his HP. So that's what Perks did. Alright. Just turn your ugly face off. I mean, I can if you want. Unlucky. All right, so wait for this to disappear. So we're 17 minutes in, right? Where's my pen? For anyone that this is how I like to study the game. This is how I like to try and improve. And again, I usually do this a lot in my VOD reviews, but I like to stop and think about, okay, what are the teams thinking about next? What are they looking to do next? And this is also what I try and do in cast as well, but it's obviously a little bit harder when it's live. So we can see G2 have pretty healthy goal lead. They don't have a huge number of towers, but we know that Drake spawns in about 2 minutes time, and we're kind of taking stock of who's strong. LeBlanc is really strong. Senna's kind of in that part of the game where she's kind of sort of strong, but not really. She doesn't have that many souls yet. She hasn't completed the Mana Mune. She's kind of meh, right? Yank goes to level 8, obviously. So what are the teams looking to do right now? 17 minutes in, probably not a lot. I don't think Soraka has the best siege, and she's going to feel uncomfortable overextending when she doesn't have any vision control around the bot side, so bot tower isn't really an option. They'll try and answer the top wave, but this tower is probably going to go down, so there's not a huge amount that G2 can do about this situation. Meanwhile, Origin will secure a tower, and then because Drake is spawning in 2 minutes and Rumble TP is up, they'll probably send the Rumble back up to top lane, they'll bring the bot lane down, and then they'll be in a position to maybe contest the Drake. That's Origin's game plan. For G2, it's much easier to push in mid now that the tower is gone, which means that they can start investing in deep vision. So they can have LeBlanc catch this wave. They can then use these two along with the Senna to push in mid. And by pushing in mid, you can use your prio here, and you can push it much further than you normally would to move into enemy jungle and then gain control over this area of the map. This then freely allows you to move and set up for the bot river so that you can then set up for Drake. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as an option. I mean, Destiny could also just die. I guess that could also happen. That's a thing, I guess. So what do G2 do? Oh, okay, so I'm a moron. They had Herald, which I completely forgot about. So rather than use their prio bot, they actually use their prio top. They find Nuke Duck. They find a fight, actually. This is weird. Very, very strange fight. Okay, that was weird. So, because I wasn't paying fucking attention to this thing, right? The fact that they found a kill also helps with this, but they basically just go up top. They use the clear that they have in order to move up through top to be able to push for this and get some damage onto this, right? So basically they do it, but they know Dragon is 2 minutes away, so there's a window for them to do something. I'm just an idiot. So as we see, they push in, right? Now, Origin obviously recognize this and still have good vision control around the top side jungle, and they get spotted as they move in. Soraka's on her way as well because she doesn't have TP. And then Nuke Duck decides to go for a bit of a trade, a bad one, but he does have Senna ult, so he gets a bit of a heal and good damage. Alfari gets a really good ultimate here, and this actually looks like initially a great fight, but Perks again doing Perks things, stops Upset from getting the follow-up, which allows them to kill Destiny, but at this point you're like jungler for support, not a bad trade. Wonder looks like he's coming for a flank, but he can't really do a huge amount. Cats get saved by this lantern so many times. Perks gets greedy and he kills himself on Upset. Still, G2 get what they want though, and it ends up still being a favorable trade for them because I think it's, how many was that? 2 for 4? 2 for 3? 2 for 4. It was 2 for 4. So G2 still won the fight anyway. I mean, G2 is like stronger at this point because their items are better. Also, like, remember when I said earlier? Okay, guys, it's important to acknowledge when you're wrong, right? And I'm wrong a lot. So, remember when I said, like, hey, like, in the mid game, Rumble's ultimate is probably more useful than Soraka ultimate? That's a really stupid fucking thing to say. Why is that a stupid thing to say? Because when this does all this damage, Soraka ultimate just removes it. So you don't take any damage from the Rumble ultimate. This is why this is a fucking counter to this champion. That's why you shouldn't listen to me, because I'm a moron. Anyway. Soraka ultimate was a pretty big deal here. If they didn't flash out of the redemption as well, that also would have helped. When he gets Morello, it will be more effective against Soraka, but that's one of the big reasons why Soraka is like a counter to Karthus as well, because the ultimate mitigates a lot of the damage that it does. So when I was talking about like, oh, this should be way more useful than a Soraka ultimate in the mid game, like I'm just wrong. I'm just wrong. So now we can see the Morellos come through. You can see that it, but also like that. If we go back to that last fight. That's also why I think Soraka ults first before the Rumble ultimate comes down, because then the Grievous wounds are applied. So it was good of him to use it early. Anyway, again, guys, it's important to acknowledge when you're wrong. It's how you learn. And now we've learned that Vedius is an idiot. Anyway, moving forward. G2 get Drake. They're now 2 up. Soraka pushes bot. Jankos is covering, thinking like, hey, I'm just here to offer protection. Normally they would be fine here. Good kick from Jankos. But they're not expecting 4 people to be bot. So they end up getting dived. G2 should be able to trade this, but I'm trying to click the mini-map up here, being like, well, look, let's just move over here. It's good of G2 that they push in 2 waves as well, because they probably wouldn't have been able to get mid, but they at the very least get top tier 1. So, ends up being a trade in kills and towers. Origin gets some gold back on in their back pocket. Pardon me. All right. that was dangerous, by the way. So they're using their Prio and they're using the LeBlanc in order to gain some vision control. You can have a look at the replay now. Ooh. Yikes. There are 3 people there. There you go. So Origin trade this for topside vision investment. Okay, someone needs to catch top wave. To be honest, we're at a point though where Soraka probably won't want to side lane as much. You just want to start grouping with your team. He does still have TP up though. So he'll probably go catch the bot wave, probably. Baron is alive. But again, one of the issues that G2 have is that their Baron is really slow. But you're kind of at a point where G2's comp is like really freaking strong now. Ah, we see the Morello. I think the only reason why he's gotten the Morello is because of the Silas W. It makes him stronger in the 1v1, which makes him stronger in a side lane. So I think it's fine here. I think it's fine. Drake is up in 35. Perks is just going to clear out top and then roam down probably. So you remember when I was talking about at the beginning of the stream? Mid-prio, mid-prio, mid-prio. And now you force Origin to take the long way around. So G2 right now. So like, here's some basics for you. So G2 pushes mid, right? So this is being pushed. And then rather than walk into the river, because they appreciate that Origin already has control over the river, they actually just walk up, right? So what does this do? Origin now have a choice. They can commit to the Drake, but this spawns in 12 seconds. So they can't just sit around and wait, because if they do, they're going to lose this tower for nothing, right? So what they have to do is they have to contest. But they can't just walk in here because G2 have control of the mid. So unless they want to try and force a 5v5 through one of these choke points, they have to go all the way around. Now, of course, G2 might not be able to get to this point fast enough, which means that maybe Origin can sneak in through here, and if they can, then they can contest the wave. But once they've done that, G2 then get to move into the jungle. And what happens once they're in the jungle? The river now belongs to them. So you can see they can't contest through the choke point because this belongs to LeBlanc. So Xerxes gets forced back. He's now lost all of his HP as Dragon spawns in 5 seconds. Origin is forced to go the long way around, and G2 can come in through here, and they can just litter this place with wards. And so Origin is forced to go back to base. Basics. Basics of Dragon. And there you go. All the vision is gone. Origin now can't contest. They get forced out. Completely free Drake. 101 Dragon mechanics. There's nothing complicated about what G2 just did. It's good, clean, simple League of Legends. There was no just like standoff at the Dragon where two teams eyed each other for 30 minutes. It was good. This is why I think Senna's really strong, by the way. I think he nearly had 60 stacks already at that point. So again, G2 doing the same thing. And like this is... G2 now are in such a commanding position because they have an 8k gold lead, right? So Origin is forced to play defensively, but this is how you snowball a lead. This is how you be proactive. You know you're stronger, so you keep your people together, right? You play through 2 lanes rather than 3 because you don't really want to send Soraka off onto a side lane because at this point in the game, you just want her grouped with her team, right? So you keep, like at this point, they're keeping people in pairs. The only people they can leave isolated is the LeBlanc. So normally these two move together and then these two also move together, right? Because he's also vision, he is also vision. So the vision moves together, the protection moves together, and then the carry moves solo, right? And so they use this setup in order to push in waves. So Caps is going to push that in. Mickey's now going to hang around. You can see the vision is staying together. And now they're actually making a play onto Baron. This is obviously risky because their Baron is very slow. But Perk's utilizing his power. Face plants into the wall there. So they could do with pushing out this wave right now. Origin don't feel super threatened because this isn't like going anywhere. They do have to deal with this wave and they also have to be very afraid of Perks, which is what's making it harder for them to approach. They've also got Mickey hanging around here being obnoxious. So they're not pushing in this mid wave, which I think would help a lot. But like this Baron is so slow and it's taking them so long that they haven't really had an opportunity to do it. So like I think they're overcommitting to the Baron at this point. I think this is really dangerous. But this is when G2 should look for the re-engage. Good hook onto Destiny. I'm going to slow this down. So Perks looks for a bit of damage. Doesn't actually use his ultimate yet. They're still committing to the Baron. Good hook onto Xerxes. Oh, wow. Mickey. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this guy. This. Holy shit. You know what? Mickey was robbed. I changed my mind. Perks didn't deserve player of the game. Mickey did. Good fucking... Oh, man. So good. Rakan moves in lines, right? which makes it very easy for Thresh players to counter. But it's hard when the Rakan flashes into ult into W. But Mickey was frickin' looking for it. He was like, this guy's trying to kill my AD carry. Excellent play. Really good play from Mickey there. He gets the heal from the Soraka so he doesn't die. The wish comes through soon. No, they still have it. They still have it, waiting for the grievous wounds to disappear. And there's the wish to keep him alive. So they get the pick onto Destiny. Oh, really well played from Mickey. Big ultimate from Caps. Forces Destiny very low. Perks is now sending it for a collapse. And all of Origin is like crap, 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 crap. That was a good knockup from Destiny. Almost finds a kill onto Perks. But they don't find a huge teamfight win. A lot of summoner spells were actually spent on G2's side. You can see that all summoners are gone for Perks and Caps. But they now have 5 people. They've killed Nuke Duck. They've killed Destiny. So they want to look at going back to Baron. Perks obviously being 5 levels higher than Xerxate. I think this is when G2 troll. So Perks knows where he is. At this point, G2 should just leave, right? They leave, and they're fine. But instead, like, what the fuck is this? What is this? What are they doing? What do they hope to achieve? Caps face tanking. Doesn't have summoner spells. Yeah, really smart. Oh, yeah. Best team in Europe, by the way. Fucking G2. You know, there were people on Twitter that were flaming me for saying, like, G2 weren't trolling. Origin just played really well. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, you're right. Origin totally outplayed them here. This definitely wasn't Perks running it down. This was actually a smart play from Perks. I completely agree with you. Yeah, no. This is actually, like, this is the play from G2. Definitely. You're right. What am I talking about? G2's not trolling at all. Nope. It's all just part of the... Origin really outplayed him there. Yeah, and like this part, especially from Origin, really clean. You know, when G2 literally face tanks an entire Rumble combo on a flashless, healless AD carry, baiting the rest of the team in. Yeah, no, really smart from Origin. Genius, in fact. Definitely wasn't G2 just killing themselves. Okay. That was absolutely garbage from G2. G2's comp still scales better though. And Origin have lost have no control over the map at all. The mid tier 1 is still up. I quite like that TP from Wonder. Whoop. Because he's never going to really side lane at this point. He's just going to group with his team. So he may as well use his TP to get something on the map. But this initial fight was pretty good from G2. And then a Perks got too cocky. And he died for it. Wait. So, okay. So a couple things. Right now, the map state, this wave is neutralized. It's not going to move. It's actually not going to move because of how like minion waves work at this point in the game. Like I think it will slowly, like really slowly push in Origin's favor, but it's basically not going to move. This wave should in theory push, but again, it will be relatively slow. And the main reason for it is because cannon minions spawn every wave. So like, unless you actively push waves out, they don't move the same way that they used to a while ago. So Origin don't actually have like prio here, nor do they have prio here. The only place that they have push is here in the mid lane. But because of that, they obviously don't have any vision over the river. Now, normally what you can do is when you're entering Fog of War, if you stay grouped as 5, like, you can brute force your way in, right? But G2 obviously have full information of what's going on, and they see the Origin is divided, so they land a good hook onto Alfari, and then they blow him up. Because obviously he doesn't have any resistances outside of his Zhonya's, right? And he doesn't Zhonya's in time. To be fair, I do not think he was expecting that much damage to come out. Like, he could Zhonya's right now, and he doesn't die. But then 637 damage. I really don't think he was... I don't think he was expecting that much damage to come out. But Perks is doing true damage at this point. Basically, anyway. Because he's got double pen plus death cap. And he has no magic resistance outside of whatever's in his runes. Which he probably does have some in his runes, but like, this guy has like no MR. So Perks is just like, bye-bye. Oh, man. So he dies. Destiny tries to charm Perks, but misses. Gets kicked away. And then he dies. And then... oh, well, G2 get another Drake. And then they get the Dragon Soul. XD. Fucking G2. How are they allowed to keep getting away with this? How? Again, their combat scales anyway. Like, the probability of them still winning even after losing Baron was still pretty high. I mean, all credit to G2 was that, like, the mistake there from OG was, I think, that if they wanted to face check, they should have stayed grouped as a 5. But they split ever so slightly, and G2 took advantage of it. It's what we mean, though, when we sit there and say G2 take advantage of the smallest mistakes. This is an example of that. Pop! OG, though, still with the Baron, so they can move and take mid-tier 1, finally. Oh, they should get another one, actually, because Perks stayed mid-top. But they have both sideways now pushing in their favor. OG looking for a bit of a trap, but they get spotted. Perks buys a Void Staff, so now no one is safe. He's also level 17. I'm impressed by how he keeps his farm up, to be honest. Like, whenever I play LeBlanc, my farm is the first thing to deteriorate. Oh, there goes upset. Yeah, the game's over now. Yeah, I'm streaming.
Do you want some fried rice?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
What?
Yeah, the game's over. The game is over. That was a lot of damage, though. KDA padding. Mom, I'm streaming. Thanks, Mom. No, Mom, I'm okay. Blessed Frosk. All right, and that's it. So, I think Origin was, like, I think Origin had opportunities to do things that they just didn't. And I think that we definitely saw some execution errors coming out from a lot of their fights. Like, I think it was pretty obvious the gap between the two teams. I think G2 had a pretty big comp advantage as well. Like, the fact that Origin had 3 losing lanes and the fact that G2... was able to punish them in most of the fights. I just think that, like, yeah, if they were to rematch, we need to see a very different draft from Origin. But it annoys me that G2 can, like, throw that hard around Baron and then still win games. Nuke Duck Troll on Silas? No, I think the Silas pick itself was fine. At least the idea behind it. But you need, like, pressure elsewhere. And I don't think they had that. Props to Alfari, though. I think he actually played the 1v1 pretty well. And by prioritizing the Morello, I think it was good itemization from him as well. But yeah, overall, it was like a fun game for sure. I'm quite excited for G2 versus Fnatic next week. I think Fnatic is way more aggressive. And I think that their drafts are way more versatile as well. But the problem with their drafts is they can either like hard smurf or hard run it down. I definitely didn't think the Rengar pick was super great for them. But yeah, I think Fnatic is stronger than Origin right now. So I'm excited for G2 versus Origin next week. Anyway, that's going to do it for the VOD. If you've watched on YouTube, thank you for watching. Checking all my other content. Not that I post that much anymore. But also I stream. Twitch.tv/VediusOfficial. You can join the other people on the Twitch chat. They're live. They're excited. They love you. But only if you're here and live. Thanks for watching. Bye.